They called him the Leper King, a ruler doomed from childhood, trapped in a body that betrayed him, yet wielding a will of iron. Baldwin IV of Jerusalem was never meant to live long, let alone stand against one of the greatest military minds of the medieval world, Saladin. But destiny had other plans, and in the scorching heat of the Holy Land, the fate of Jerusalem would hinge on a sickly youth who refused to bow to illness or to fear. Baldwin was born in 1161, the second son of Prince Amalric of Jerusalem and the younger brother of King Baldwin III. He grew up in the heart of the Crusader Kingdom, a fragile realm carved out of conquest, surrounded by powerful Muslim states, and constantly under threat. For the boy prince, life began with privilege and promise, until the first signs appeared. At just 9 years old, Baldwin came under the guidance of the learned William of Tyre. The tutor quickly noticed something strange. Baldwin did not flinch when struck or pinched. At first, it seemed a quirk, perhaps a mark of toughness. But William realized the truth was far darker. Baldwin could not feel pain in parts of his body. The diagnosis was whispered, feared, and for a time avoided: leprosy. In the Middle Ages, it was a sentence of exile, shame, and slow death. Under the law, a confirmed leper might be forced into the order of St. Lazarus, among knights similarly afflicted. But Baldwin's symptoms were still mild and carefully hidden. Outwardly, he was still the handsome, bright-eyed son of a king. Inside, his fate had been sealed. He grew into adolescence with determination, keen intelligence, and a remarkable memory. He could recall every kindness and every slight ever shown to him. His tutor noted his occasional stutter, but also his talent for learning and leadership. Still, the shadow of his illness lingered, shaping his future in ways no one could yet foresee. In 1174, tragedy struck. Baldwin's father, now King Amalric, died unexpectedly of dysentery while returning from campaign. The boy was just 10 years old, far too young to rule, yet the High Court of Jerusalem placed the crown upon his head. For the time being, the regency passed to Raymond of Tripoli, a seasoned nobleman who would guide the kingdom until Baldwin came of age. 2 years later, in the summer of 1176, Baldwin turned 15 and claimed full royal authority. No one expected him to reign long. Whispers of his illness circulated among the nobility, and the question of succession became a constant concern. Baldwin's solution was political maneuvering. He sought to secure an alliance through his sister Sibylla, first proposing a marriage to Hugh III of Burgundy. That plan fell through, and instead, she married the French knight Guy of Lusignan, a union that brought powerful military support to Jerusalem. But Baldwin was not content to sit on a throne and play politics. The young king had the heart of a warrior. When Saladin, the formidable sultan of Egypt and Syria, turned his attention northward to Aleppo, Baldwin seized the opportunity. He launched an ambitious campaign toward Damascus, his first taste of war. By then, the disease had already robbed him of the use of one hand. Yet Baldwin refused to delegate command. He would ride, he would fight, and he would lead. The true test came in November 1177. Saladin, commanding a vast army, marched on the Crusader-held city of Ashkelon. Baldwin, just 16 years old, took the field with a far smaller force, joined by the battle-hardened Knights Templar. The odds were desperate. Saladin, confident in his superiority, allowed his men to spread out, raiding villages and pillaging the countryside. Baldwin saw his opening. With ruthless precision, the Leper King and the Templars struck. They shattered the scattered Muslim detachments, breaking through the lines and driving straight at Saladin's position. All day they pressed the attack, and by nightfall, the Sultan was in retreat, fleeing back toward Egypt. It was a stunning victory, but a costly one. Nearly 90% of Baldwin's army lay dead. His personal guard had been cut down to a handful of survivors. And for Baldwin, the physical toll was immense. The strain of campaigning in harsh conditions likely accelerated the progression of his disease. The victory at Ashkelon became a legend, whispered across the Holy Land and beyond. It wasn't just the numbers or the tactics. It was the sight of a young, visibly ill king riding into battle when he could have hidden behind palace walls. To his enemies, it was unnerving. To his people, it was inspiring. Baldwin had proven that courage could be more powerful than strength, and that the will to fight could shake even the greatest armies. The years that followed were a slow, agonizing battle against his own body. Leprosy claimed his strength, then his mobility, then his sight. His once youthful face became disfigured. Eventually, he could no longer walk or ride and had to be carried in a litter between two horses. Yet his mind remained sharp, and his resolve never wavered. Even as blindness closed in, he continued to direct the kingdom's defenses against Saladin's relentless pressure. By 1183, Baldwin's condition had deteriorated so severely that he prepared to abdicate. He named his brother-in-law, Guy of Lusignan, as regent and later declared his young nephew Baldwin IV heir to the throne. But the nobles, out of respect for his leadership, insisted he remain king in name until his death. In these last years, every royal decree he signed, every council meeting he held, was done under the crushing weight of pain. Yet Baldwin endured it all for the sake of Jerusalem. He understood that symbols matter in war, that the sight of their king, however frail, still in command, gave the people hope. It was this unshakable sense of duty that made him more than a ruler. He became the very embodiment of resistance. In the end, it was not Saladin's sword but the slow, cruel march of leprosy that claimed Baldwin's life. On March 16, 1185, at just 23 years old, the Leper King finally succumbed. He was buried with honor in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre beside his father. Baldwin IV's reign lasted nearly 11 years, longer than anyone had dared hope when he first took the crown. Against all odds, he preserved the fragile Crusader Kingdom in the face of Saladin's might, winning not just battles but the loyalty of his people. Even as his body failed, his will did not. History remembers many kings for their power, their conquests, or their wealth. Baldwin IV is remembered for something rarer: the courage to rule when every breath, every step, and every day was borrowed time.